Lawmakers in France have passed a motion of no confidence to topple Prime Minister Michel Barnier's government. The fall of his 3-month-old cabinet is likely to deepen France's political crisis. The country has been reeling from an election that boosted the political fringes and left a parliament with no clear majority.
The eyes of the world were on France on Wednesday, as parliamentarians from both the left and the far right joined forces to bring down Michel Barnier's government, just 3 months after he became Prime Minister. The move throws the country into political chaos. Plus, France now lacks a tailor-made budget for 2025 and could struggle to refinance its huge public debt. But opposition groups insist political change is needed.
To end the chaos, we first had to vote down this government. Now we'll keep pushing until there's a left-wing government, or until Mr. Macron leaves.
The far-right National Rally Party tipped the balance against the government.
This dissolution was caused by the deep and long-standing gap between what people want and what political leaders do.
But it's a gamble for far-right leader Marine Le Pen to have a shot at winning the next presidential election. She needs to convince more retirees and the business world to back her. And yet, what those voters loathe most is political instability.
Meanwhile, Le Pen is facing a court case that could see her temporarily banned from running for office come March. She's hoping President Emanuel Macron will step down and trigger early presidential elections before then. But Macron, who spent most of his week in Saudi Arabia, has ruled out resignation. The French president now looks weaker than ever as he faces the challenge of swiftly finding a new prime minister. The National Assembly remains deeply divided, and fresh parliamentary elections can't be held before next July.
Let's cross over to Paris and talk to Lisa Louis, who filed that report and is standing by for us. Lisa, Barnier is handing in his resignation as we speak, following that no-confidence vote. What does that mean for the government of France?
Well, that means that France now doesn't have a functioning government. There will probably be a caretaker government in place for a while until President Emmanuel Macron finds a new prime minister. It is a political crisis, but this could also be an economic or financial crisis for France, given that the government was ousted over the vote of the budget for next year, and the country does have a huge, large public deficit and a huge debt that it needs to desperately reduce if it wants to be able to take this country forward. So very dire times in a political but also in a financial way here in France.
Now, many see President Macron to blame for this whole situation. Could he be forced to resign?
Well, there's no legal obligation for him to step down, but obviously politicians both from the far left but also from the far right are hoping for him to step down. This is the strategy of political chaos. They want to increase political instability in order to blame President Macron and trigger fresh presidential elections. However, even fresh presidential elections would not solve the situation in Parliament at the National Assembly behind me, because we have in France right now a hung Parliament with 3 blocks, none of which has a majority, and that would obviously not change with fresh presidential elections. The next snap parliamentary elections can be held next July according to French law.
Lisa Louis there reporting from Paris. Thank you, Lisa.